Begin the current Daf Masech the Shabbos Daf Lamed Beis. We begin on the bottom of Lamed Aleph Lamed Beis, 5 lines up from the bottom of the Yomit, where we begin the next Mishnah, which continues on the theme of the previous Mishnais and the topic of this parak regarding regarding the Ner Shabbos, which is B'mem Adlikim. What do you light with? What do you not light with? So our shares corresponds to Bekalzech and Yecheskel, Torah anytime and Daf Chaim, and we appreciate everyone joining us on Zoom. And the theme will basically be regarding this halacha of the Shalosh Averis, that the topic of the Mishnah is talking about regarding the Ner Shabbos and different punishments, and the Gemara goes through basically the whole daf discussing different types of sins and their appropriate punishments. So our daf begins with the Mishnah. Al Shalosh Averis, on 3 types of sins, Nosha Mesis Peshas Lidasan, women die at the time of their childbirth, and the Gemara is going to explain why specifically during childbirth. What are the 3 things? Al She'ein and Zahiris Benida, that they're not careful with the laws of Nida, regarding the laws of menstruation, appropriate halachas that relate to a nida. And the second one is b'chala, regarding not taking off, separating the portion of the dough. When you make a certain measurement, you have to take off a share of challah, which is supposed to be given to the kayin. These days it's burnt because we don't have the same laws. And regarding the lighting of the candle, which are the Ner Shabbos, which is the topic of our parak, regarding not being careful with that halacha, those 3 things are reasons why women die during childbirth. So the Gemara asks, Nida my timer. What's the reason, starting off with the first one mentioned, why regarding the laws of Nida, is it that a woman dies during childbirth? So Amr Yitzchak, he says, he killed Kala, the woman, she rebelled. She created a problem, b'chadre bitna, in something that relates to the chambers of her womb, because the source of her menstrual blood is in the womb, and that's actually the understanding of the menstrual blood, is that when it doesn't form into a child, and that's what the laws of Tumah come from, because it failed to create an embryo, a creature. So she rebelled in the laws relating to her womb. So therefore she's going to have her punishment in the wombs, in the chambers of her womb, which is during the time of childbirth or giving birth from the child that comes from the womb. But the Gemara asks, Tenach Nida. That's a very good interpretation for Nida to say that, that's an appropriate punishment because it relates directly to that part of the body. But Chala Badlok is a Ner Michael. Remember, what are you going to explain the interpretation for not separating Chala or for not lighting the Shabbos Ners? How would that relate to the woman during childbirth? So the Gemara says, you're right, a different interpretation. A certain Galilean from the Galilee region that expounded in front of Rav Chizda the following interpretation, and because these 3 things relate to the essence of the person. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu has said, Revi'is dam nesati b'chem, I put inside of you a revi'is of a loig, which is a small amount, like we make kiddush on the revi'is. That's how much blood Hashem says I put inside of you, meaning, because the Mepharshim will talk exactly what, but the way it's said is that exactly a revi'is adam is the minimum amount of blood that a person needs to be able to live. So, al iski dam ezarti eschem. So regarding the essence of blood is what I warned you. So it's talking about what I formed you. The essence of a person is revi'is of dam. The dam, a person can't live without blood. So I gave you a warning, a prohibition regarding dam, which is the halachas of dam nida. So it is a getintab of lamed bezim and alf. Reishis karasi eschem. So I called you the first. We find the pasuk in Yomei Beis, Reishis tu bu'asai. The Jewish people are called the first of his crop. So aliskei Reishis is hati eschem. So I warned you regarding the first, which is Reishis arisei seichem. The halach of challah is a mamid b'tezvav. Says the first of your dough is what you have to separate for challah. And then, neshama shenasata b'chem kurui ner. The soul that I put inside of you is called a candle. Aliskei ner is hati eschem, like we said, the pasuk is, we brought on the previous daf, ner like ner Hashem nishmas adam. So therefore, for the halachas of the candle, I prescribed for you, which is the Ner Shabbos. So these are the 3 essence of a person's blood, a person's neshama, and a person being the Jewish person, which is called the Reishis. Those 3 things correlate mitzvahs, which are those 3 mitzvahs. So therefore, if you're going to fulfill them, then it's good. But if not, I'm going to take your neshama, then you're going to lose your revi'is of dam, and then your candle is going to be extinguished, and you're going to lose your title of Reishis. Now, so that we understand why it's those 3 are the essence of a person. But why are women commanded it? So Rashi means from the Bereshis Rabbah, it's because the woman destroyed the challah of the world. Meaning because of the Eitz Hadas that was caused by Chava, she caused Adam Arishan, who was separated like the challah. He was the choicest thing of the world, like what challah is. He's the first, he's the Reishis, and she extinguished the candle of the world, which was the light of the world by the sin of the Eitz Hadas, and she spilled his blood because of the sin of the Eitz Hadas. They had to die. So those are the three things that were caused by Chava. Therefore, she has the responsibility of these three mitzvahs. And another more practical reason, says Rashi, is because all the tzarchei bayis are incumbent on the woman. So the woman is the one who's lighting the neiros, she's baking the bread, and the nida obviously is her body. So therefore, those three are incumbent upon her. So either a more metaphysical interpretation or a more practical reason. So therefore, it's incumbent upon her. Fine. So we understand why those three mitzvahs and why it's on the woman. But as the Gemara, why specifically does she get punished during childbirth because of those three sins? So the Gemara brings many different mashalim, parables, to explain the relevancy of during the time of childbirth. Some Rabbi says, Nafal Tura, when the ox falls down to the ground, so he's ready to be slaughtered, because you have to put the ox down to slaughter it. So everyone says, Chadad l'sakina, sharpen the knife before the ox doesn't get up, because then it's going to be very difficult to put him back down again. So too, once the woman's mazel, once her divine connection is weakened, she's already prepared to be punished because of childbirth, which is a dangerous thing. That's a more susceptible, vulnerable time. That's when she gets punished for those things. That's when a woman needs a special protection and she needs miracles. Another mashal, Abayame says, Tafis Terus, the increase of rebellion, of Amsa, of the maidservant, all of them, B'chad Mechtru Lahava, she's going to get punished with one slap, with one hit. In other words, a woman is ready for Yisurim during childbirth because of the sin of the original woman Chava. So therefore they combine with her many different punishments for that punishment when she gets by the childbirth, which is, you just one clap and that's it. All that is put together, that's specifically a childbirth. Rav Chizdami gives a different mashal. He says, Shavke l'Ravya, leave alone the drunkard, the menavshi nafal, he's going to fall on his own. Meaning you don't have to throw down the shikr, he's going to fall on his own. So too the woman is already ready to give birth when she becomes pregnant. She already at that time in pregnancy has to beseech mercy to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to open up her womb. And all Hashem has to do, it doesn't have to push her down and punish her. He just doesn't open it up and she dies by herself. That's the same thing by the drunkard. You don't have to punish the drunkard. Just don't help him. He'll fall on his face and he'll hurt himself. Again, these are all what's called mashal hedyot. They're all common mashalim, parables that people say. Those are wordings that they're utilizing over here to explain why the woman, during Leda specifically, gets punished for these three sins. Mokvam gives a different mashal. He says, Raya Chagara. He says a crippled shepherd, the easy riatin, and the goats, they're very quick to run, and he can't reach them because he's crippled and they're running away to punish them for the animals that are not behaving. Abav chutra says when it comes to the opening of the pen, Mili, that's where he's going to talk to the goat to punish it for her sin. Va'abeidari, and by the pen of the sheep is chushbana. That's where they come to the calculation. In other words, a woman when she's healthy, so sometimes her merits protect for her, and the prosecution doesn't have enough to be able to recall her sins. But when she comes to the opening of a dangerous situation, and then she needs miracles, which are during childbirth, which are a very dangerous thing. That's why on Shabbos we'll take a woman in childbirth, because it's sakanas nefashos. That's where they recall her sins and her actions, and then we see if she's worthy of a miracle or not. That's again a similar idea. Papa, he says, Abav Chanvasa. He says, by the opening of the store, which is where they're giving out food, and there's a lot of wealth and abundance, Nafishi achi merachmi. So then you have a lot of brothers and friends. Everyone becomes your friend. But Abav Bizyaini, but in the place of where there's loss and poverty and disgrace, Lo yachi v'lo merachmi. There's no brothers, there's no friends. At a time of danger, a person's mazel, and so to the woman during childbirth, her distinguishment and her mazel goes down, and suddenly everyone leaves. Like they say, you don't need the friend who goes with you in the limousine. You need, when the limousine breaks down, he goes with you on the bus. That's what I'm saying. So like, when the times are good, so then there are things that could protect. But during childbirth, which a person's mazel is down, then the chips are down, and then suddenly that's when the prosecution comes in. That's again why during childbirth, a woman needs special protection, and that's why she gets punished for these three sins. So the Gemara says, okay, fine, that's regarding women. The Gavri heicha mivdiki, but where do men get checked for their actions when their sins and their merits are being recalled to see if they're worthy or not? So Mershal she says, it's when a man passes by a bridge. So a bridge is also a dangerous situation. That's when he gets checked. Says the Gemara, it's only by a bridge and nothing else. Ema says the Gemara, no, say ke'ein gesher, like a bridge, meaning any dangerous situation, like a slanty wall, or he's going on a journey, anything that's a dangerous situation recalls the person's sins, and therefore that's when he gets checked too, corollary to what a woman is during childbirth. Now, because of this, the Gemara brings different practices from different Amiram. The Rav, lo'ava b'mavara, he wouldn't go on a boat that takes you across the river, the yasab be'akum, that a non-Jew is sitting on. He says, dilma mifkidle, maybe it's going to be checked upon this non-Jew, dina alei, a judgment on him for his sins, umitfisna ba'adei, I'm going to get caught with him on the same boat. So he was always careful to see, because there are certain dangerous times that a person could be judged for, and the non-Jew is going to get punished, so he didn't want to be in the boat with him. But the Gemara says actually Shmuel did the opposite. He would only go on the boat, the is be'akum, that there was a non-Jew. Because Amay says, sit in the betray umi leishalit. The prosecuting angel cannot get two nations at the same time. So therefore, he specifically wanted the non-Jew on the boat when he was going, so that actually both of them could be on there, and then he's not going to get a punishment. Rabbi Yanai, he was badik. He would actually check the boat to make sure that there wasn't any holes, and then then he would go over. I mean, he was very careful when he was going in a situation that could be dangerous. As the Gemara says, Rabbi Yanai goes according to his reasoning, that he says, a person should never stand in a dangerous place. To say, they'll make from a miracle. Maybe they're not going to do for him a miracle. And if they do for him a miracle, then they're going to take away from his merits. And Amr B'chani says, what's a pasuk that shows? This is a pasuk in Sefer Bereshis. Yaakov Avinu says, Ketointi, which means I've been made small and my merits have been diminished, Mikala Chasadim, from all the kindness and Mikol Emes, from all the truth that you did for me, which we see that a person shouldn't rely on miracles, because even if a miracle is done for him, then it diminishes from his merits. So the Gemara says that Reb Zera, that B'yom Deshusa, on a day of when there was a strong southern wind, which topples down walls and uproots trees, like nothing, he wouldn't go amongst the palm trees. He didn't want a palm tree to fall on him. Again, to be concerned in times of danger, you don't go out. So a related teaching, Amr B'Yitzchak B'Reid Rabbi Yehudi says, a person should always beseech mercy, that he shouldn't become sick. Because if he becomes sick, they tell him, as we find in these difficult times of Corona, the same idea which a person should daven not to get sick. Because if a person becomes sick, they say, bring merit and then become exempted, then the onus of proof is on you. Where Amma Marukve says, what's the pasuk? So it says the pasuk in Devar. The pasuk there is talking about the obligation when you build a new house, you have to make a gate, a railing for your roof, which is the law of Makkah, and that there shouldn't be any blood spilled in your house. Because it says at the end of the pasuk, because when the one who falls is going to fall from it, that's going to be your blood's going to be on your hands. But what does it mean, keep hanoifel mimenu? So the Gemara expounds, mimenu lehivi raya. From him it's incumbent to bring a proof, meaning once he's falling, he's a neifel, then you have to find mimenu from him, from his actions, a proof to that he's meritorious, that he shouldn't fall down. That's what it says, ki yipol hanoifel. It could just say ki yipol hanoifel, because the one who's going to fall. No, mimenu, it's from him, meaning if he's falling, he has to bring proof that he should survive that fall. Because again, if someone's in a vulnerable predicament, the onus of proof is already on him. A different interpretation of that same pasuk, Rabbi Shloimy says, "What's ki yipol hanoifel mimenu? What does it mean? Hanoif, the fallen one is going to fall from it only when he falls. What does it mean? Hanoifel ki yipol hanoifel mimenu. So the Gemara explains, this person was already fit to fall from this roof. It was already decreed from the 6 days of creation, like the pasuk says in Yeshaya. God calls out the generations from the beginning, who has revealed in front of him the generations, their actions, and the punishments that they're going to get. Shaharei, because we find over here, when the Torah was given in the beginning of the world, before the world was even created, Loi Nafal, or even when the Torah was given by Har Sinai, this person didn't fall yet. Fakasav Kari Naifal, and the pasuk is really calling him the fallen one. How is he the fallen one? It's only after he fell. No, Ella, rather, he's the fallen one. But moreover, what the pasuk is trying to prove over here is that we devolve a merit through a meritorious person, through a good person, and something bad through a guilty person. Meaning, this balabais, this homeowner, you're right, it was decreed from Shishim Ebereishah, this person is going to die. And therefore, he's called the Neifel, the fallen one from Har Sinai. But the homeowner who didn't fulfill the mitzvah of Makkah, the blood is on his hands, because although it's decreed, but it's not necessarily decreed that it has to be through you. That's one of the answers of Yediyah and Bechira, which is going to happen, but it didn't have to happen through you, and if it does, that's the liability of saying the blood is on your hands. So the Gemara continues, we'll learn the Brises. All continue on this similar theme. Misha Chalav, someone who became sick, but not to lamus, and he's veering towards death, so the people near him tell him, Hizvada, confess for your sins. And all those who die, they confess, as the Mishnah teaches in Sanhedrin, that whoever confesses has a chelik in the Olam Haba. As we find by Achin, Yeshua told him, the Gemara says, although he committed sin that he had to die for, you confess for your sin, and then you'll be redeemed. So the Gemara, the Brisa continues and says as follows: there are certain levels of danger that a person's in. Being sick is one thing. They say confess, you're going to die. If someone goes out to the marketplace where there's many disputes over there, many people that are litigants, and there's non-Jews and there's Jews, so Yidayim Be'enav should be on a person compared to Kamisha Nimtza L'Sarajit, like he's given over to the officer that's taking him to take him to judgment. Meaning, you look like you're just going out to the marketplace, but there's so many things that could go wrong, that could be dangerous. It should be like almost like the officer, the police is taking you to the courthouse. That's how it should be compared to you when you're going out into the street. That's how you should prepare yourself for the spiritual danger. If a person has a little headache, just a little bother, already he should be compared to in his eyes, as if they're putting him in chains. I mean, that's already more than being just, the police. He's already in cuffs. But it's less than the next stage we're going to talk about going onto the scaffold, which there a person's judged only for the death penalty. That's called like death row, and that's for a more severe punishment. Then you need even greater types of defense. But if he's just a headache, then there should be like he's already in chains. If let's say he has to go into bed, he's very sick, and he has to lay down in bed, should be compared in his eyes, as if he's already on the scaffold to be judged, which is, whoever's being judged on the scaffold, if he only has great defense attorneys, Nitzel, then he's saved. If not, Nitzel, then he's not saved. And says the Gemara, who is the great defense for a person that already has to do something over here that should be appeasement for the courts in heaven? That's true of that's repentance and good deeds. And it says the Gemara, even if there's 999 that are prosecuting, that are teaching bad about the person, and one is teaching good for him, Nitzel, he's saved. Just like it says the pasuk in Eve. If he has for him an agent that's a defense, one out of 1,000, to tell about a person about his upstandingness, and he's going to find grace. He's going to say, redeem him from going down into the pit of destruction. That's how merciful they are in the heavenly court. Even if just 1 out of 1,000 is saying his defense, then he'll be saved. But again, if a person's on a higher level of vulnerability, requires more of a defense. Now, moreover, Rabbi Eliezer ben Nesher b'Yisrael Liliam, he says even more. He says, Afila tesha meis v'tisha v'tisha ba'isei malach. Even if that agent that's coming to his defense is only saying 1 out of 1,000 of what he's saying, even if he himself is saying 999 points l'chayva as prosecution, and that agent is saying only 1 out of 1,000 in his merit, Nitzel, he becomes saved from that one of merit, from that one malach who's saying 999 of chayva. And like it says in the pasuk, it says melitz, the defendant, echad mini elef, 1 out of 1,000, meaning to say, what we see from this is that the words of this malach is only 1 out of 1,000 lahagid yashra, to say his defense, because it sounds like, although you could read it malach melitz, that the defending angel is 1 out of 1,000, but and their inference would be yes, but all the other malachim are saying that he's guilty. But from the fact that it doesn't say im yeshulav melitz malach, it says malach melitz. If it would have said melitz malach echad mini elef, from the fact that it doesn't say that, you could expound that the echad mini elef is going on both malach and malitza, and therefore it's not only 1 out of 1,000 of the malach, contrast to the other ones, it's even the malitza. The words of this one malach is 999 for chayva and 1 for defense, and even then, the heavenly court is merciful and he's not going to die. Now, continuing on this halacha, the Mishnah, so Tama will learn the Brisa, as we said in the Mishnah, Ashalish Averis, regarding the 3 sins we mentioned in the Mishnah, which is Nida, Chala, and Adlakas in there, Nashim Mesis Yoldois. women die during childbirth. That's one interpretation, like we had in the Mishnah. But Rabbi Lazar, he says, Noshem meses yolodos. Women die young, even not during childbirth. So it's not yoldois, but it's yolodois. Rabbi Achaimer, he says that a different reasoning why. One interpretation why they die young is because of these three affairs. Another reasoning, Rabbi Achaimer says, they die young because they wash the excrement of their little kids on Shabbos. So the little kids make dirty on Shabbos in their clothing, and they wash that on Shabbos. They call the Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark, they call it Arna. They call it like their chests were called Arna. They call the Holy Ark Arna, which Taisa says not talking about like the Aron that Betzal made, because we're not talking about necessarily something from the past. We're talking about something that was relative in their days, which the Aron HaKodesh, they would say, oh, in the Arna, therefore that was considered a disgraceful terminology. Therefore that's a reason why they would die young. Now, Tanya will in the Brisa, similarly, Rabbi Shmuel ben Elazar, he says, "Ba'avin shnei dvarim, for the sin of two things, ami aratzis mesim, the ignoramuses, the common folk, they pass away. One is, like we said before, shekarin l'Aron HaKodesh Arna, because they call the Aron HaKodesh an Arna, just like, a chest, which again is considered disgraceful. And Val shekarin l'Beis HaKnesses, Beis Am, they call the shul the Beis Am, the house of the people, which again is also disgraceful because they're just saying it's the place where people gather. It's like almost calling it the social hall. Beis Am, it's the social hall. Oh, that's what the shul is. That's not what a shul is. Shul is a place of great spirituality. The Beis HaKnesses, Knesses also means to gather. But calling it the Beis Am is calling it a disgraceful terminology. Therefore, that's why they pass away. Tanya Linda Brisa, continuing on this theme of the two interpretations of do they die when they're in childbirth or do the women die when they're young? Rabbi Yisrael, he says, Shleisha bidkei misa nevru b'isha. There's 3 inspections of death that Hashem created in the woman. Means to say that the woman gets inspected with them at a dangerous time, which is like the Rabbanan, that they say that they die yoldois when they're in childbirth, which is a dangerous time. Some say no, Shleisha divkei misa. There are 3 bonds of death which attach and make the death come closer even before its time, which like Rabbi Lazar that says Yolod Dois. As the Gemara says, what are these 3? Nida, V'chala, V'adlokas Aner, not appropriately following the laws of Nida, not separating appropriately the Hafrashas Chala, and not appropriately lighting the Shabbos candles. So as we explained, Chada, one of them is Rabbi Lazar. The one who says Divke Misa is saying that it's bonds of death, which makes a person die younger. That's like Rabbi Lazar who says it's Yolod Dois. But the other one that says Bid Kimisa checks them at a dangerous time, that's Krabanan who says that they die during Yol Dois when they are giving birth, because that checks them at that time. Now, Tanya in the Brisa, continuing on these themes, Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg says, Hilchas Hektish, laws of Hektish, of sanctification, Trumais, which is giving the Truma to the Kain, Umaisrus, which is giving the tithe to the Levi, and the Meiser Sheni, Heinen Gufei Torah. These are the fundamentals of Torah, as you continue to Medbeis. And V'nim Sulami Aretz, and it was given over to the common folk, which it wasn't given over to the courts to make and appoint a guard to make sure. The Torah trusted every single person for these things. Now these are Gufei Torah because we have Chaverim, which are the people that are very careful with Jewish law, and they eat their bread and they rely that the Chal was taken off and that the Trumas and the Meisers and Hektish is also given over to every single person to make Hektish. And Hektish takes effect just on the person's verbiage. And there's a fundamental of the Torah where we have to really be concerned. Anytime you're using a movable item from a regular person, maybe he sanctified it and he retracted. Now, as Rashi points out, although the rabbis instituted Tamai, which is actually we are concerned that maybe they didn't separate the Trumas and Maises, but the Torah believes them. So you see that even the fundamentals of the Torah gave it over to the common folk. Now, Tanya Lin Bryce Reb Nassim, he says, Ba'ava Nidarm, which continues on this theme regarding, like we said for Hektish, that the person's words have the power to create and affect something, and therefore we say we should be careful by the Am Haaretz. We find that the sin of a vow is Mesa Ishtei Shaladim. So a person's wife passes away. So like it says a pasuk in Mishlei, if you don't have what to pay back, the oilos and the hekdeshes that you made a neder, that you made a vow, lama yikach mishkavcha. Why should they take your bed, referring to your wife, mitachtecha, from beneath you? So we see that in the sin of nedarim, a person's wife passes away. Rabbi Yomi says a different interpretation. He says, ba'av nedarim, in the sin of not properly fulfilling vows, bana mesim kshem ketanim. Person's sons die when they're very young. Shlomo says a pasuk in Kehalos. It says, al titin es picha. Don't place your mouth, meaning with a vow, lachti es pesarcha, to cause sin to your flesh, meaning to create liability for your sons, Don't say in front of the malach. Could mean, like we say, the angel, but it also means like an agent. That's really what the word malach is from. Who's the agent we're referring to is the treasurer of hektish. Don't say in front of the agent kishkagahi, where it's an error. By mistake I jumped and I took a vow, but I don't have what to pay. Why should God be upset on your voice? Meaning because of the voice of your vow. And he's going to destroy your handiwork. And says the Gemara, what's the handiwork of a person? That's a person's sons and daughters. So you see that because of the sin of his nedarim, a person's sons and daughters die when they're young. Similarly, turn about in a brayso, different interpretations. Ba'av and nedarim, like we said before, this one says the same. In the sin of nedarim, banim mesim, the sons die. That's different. Rabbi Shimon. He gives us a different interpretation. He says ba'av and bittul Torah. The sin of not learning Torah, that causes a person's children to die when they're young. So says the Gemara, I don't understand. According to the one that says in the sin of nedarim kedaman, like we said before, we brought a pasuk of al titin es picha. But according to one that says the sin of not learning Torah, my crow, what's a pasuk that shows that not learning Torah causes a person's children to die when they're young? Says the Gemara, it's a pasuk in Yirmiyah. It says, "Lashav in vain, he kasias benechem." I went and killed your children. In other words, for nothing did I hit them. It's only because musar, rebuke, which refers to the words of Torah, lo lekachu, they didn't learn. Which we know, kilekach tev nasat lechem, Torah is called a lekach, because musar the Torah lo lekachu, they didn't take the Torah, because they didn't learn Torah, that's why he cases benechem, that's why I killed your sons. Now, Reb Nachman Yitzchak, he explains that actually, even the interpretation that says, because of the sin of vows, is also actually learning from the same pasuk in Yirmiyah. Because he reads it, Lashav hikisias benechem. What does it mean, Lashav? Al iskei shav. Because of the idea of shav, which means in vain, which they lied in their vow, it's similar to like an oath of shiur shav, which you said regarding, let's say, wood that it's stone, or stone that it's wood, for that, not for falsely taking an oath. Therefore, lashav, for the shiur shav, he kisses benechem, that's why I killed your son. So they also actually learned it off from that same pasuk. So the Gemara actually wonders a contradiction. Mechti, let's see, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, who we just quoted, that he says, ba'avim bittul Torah, hainu Rebbe, although we call him different names, Rebbe, who we call Rebbe, is Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Now the problem is for Rebbe, we quoted before, he says, ba'avay nedarim kama. He says that actually children die when they're young because of the sins of not properly fulfilling vows. But then how do we quote him as quoting as bittul Torah? So says the Gemara, you're right. Originally he said the interpretation that they die because of bittul Torah. But Basa the Shamim and Rabbi Shimon, after you heard from Rabbi Shimon, who Rabbi Shimon heard from his father Rabbi Shimon, who was the Rebbe of Rebbe, that in the sins of nedarim, so then he subsequently changed it, and that was the first interpretation that he said, that it's because of the Ava and nedarim. So yeah, we record him because originally he says Ba'avim bittul Torah, but subsequently he heard the interpretation from his colleague in the name of his father, who was his Rebbe, that said that it was Ba'avim nedarim, so then he retracted, and then he was quoted as saying Ba'avim nedarim. Now the Gemara continues and says other interpretations. Again, continuing this theme, why do children die when they're young? Chadama one says, Ba'avin mezuzah. It's in the sin of the father's inappropriate fulfillment of the mitzvah mezuzah. The Chadama one says, Ba'avin bittul Torah. It's a sin of not learning Torah. So the Gemara explains what's their machlekes. According to the one that says that it's because of the sin of mezuzah, is because mikra, the pasuk of leman yirbu yumechem v'mei v'nechem, so that it shall lengthen your days and the days of your children, which is you want them to live a long time, the children. That's nidr shlafanav. That goes back on the pasuk right before it. The pasuk right before is talking about mezuzah is peisach. It's going on mezuzah. So mezuzah is very close related to yirbu yumechem v'mei v'nechem. And if you don't fulfill mezuzah, then mechlal lavat shmehen, meaning that the person's children will not live a long time. Now, but that mandama held that you don't expound it for the pasuk before, which is l'mad t'maisim mes benechem, which says to teach your children Torah. It mentioned before that of mezuzah. So you only expound the smichas pasuk for right before, but not before it. So if he says that it's because of the sin of mezuzah. But mandam ba'avim bittul Torah, according to the one that says because the sin of not appropriately learning Torah, mikra nidrish lefanav v'lifnei fanav. The pasuk expounded not only for what's before it, but even what's before it. Meaning, he held not only for the sin of mezuzah, but also for the sin of bittul Torah, a person's children chas v'shalom will die when they're young. Now, pligabar Rabbi Yehuda. Now we have again another dispute regarding this, the sin of children dying young between Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda. Chadama one says ba'avin mezuzah, it's because of the sin of mezuzah. Chadama one says ba'avin tzitzis, because of the sin of not appropriately fulfilling the mitzvah tzitzis. So the Gemara says, Bishlam Malam Bab Mezuzah. We understand according to one that says the sin of Mezuzah D'chsev, like we explain it more explicitly over here. It says in the pasuk, you should write this parchment on the doorpost of your house, and it says afterwards, so that it increases your days, and the days of your children. So you see, it's related, the mitzvah mezuzah, to the days of your children. According to one that says, because the sin of tzitzis, my time, where does tzitzis relate? Although we say vayemer afterwards, but it's not the same thing. What would tzitzis have related to Laman Yirbu Yimechem? So Amr of Kana, some say Shila Mari, because there's a pasuk in Yirmiyah that says, Gam beknafayach, also in the corner of your garments, meaning because of the corner of your garments, that you did not fulfill the mitzvah of tzitzis, so nimtzu, it's found upon you the liability of dam nefashis evyoinim nikim, the blood of the souls of the pure destitute ones, which are small little children that never sinned. Their blood is because of you, because of kanafecha, because of the corners of your garments that did not fulfill the mitzvah of tzitzis. Now, Nachman Yitzchak says, Laman dam above in mezuzah, even according to the other opinion that says because the sin of mezuzah, Nam Hacha actually also learns it out from this pasuk, because the pasuk there ends, Loi b'machteres mitzasim. Not in the cave did I find it. What does this mean? So the Gemara explains, Sha'asu pesachim, because they would make their entryways, their doorways, they would make it kimachteres as if it was a cave, meaning as if it didn't have doorposts. So the pasuk is saying, Loi b'machteres, not in the cave were their doorposts mitzasim found, meaning that they would be completed my mitzvahs. No, like the pasuk says, Ki al kol eila, because of all these things, the pasuk says, which is the pasuk saying, that's why I went and I destroyed them. Because this pasuk is after Lashav Hikises Benechem, and for nothing did I kill their sons, to say that because Leiba Machteres Metzasim, that I didn't find their pesachim to be, which is they made it like a Machteres, which doesn't have doorposts. No, I had doorposts, and they did not properly fulfill the mitzvah mezuzah. That's why the person's children die when they're young. Now, Amish Lokish, he continues on this mitzvah of tzitzis, and he says, Kalazar b'tzitzis, whoever is careful and meticulous in the mitzvah of tzitzis, so he merits and they attend to him. 2,800 servants. Like it says the pasuk in Zechariah. So says Hashem, the Lord of hosts. But Yomahim, in those days, in the days of the future, there's going to be 10 people from all the different cultures, all the different languages, all the different nations of the world that are going to hold on to the Jew. They're going to hold on to the corner of the garment of the Jew, meaning in the merit of the kanaf, which is then they're going to hold on to the corner of his garment. So you're going to have 10 people from every nation. That's 700 for the 70 nations, and he has 4 corners of his garment times 4. Do the math, is 2,800. Lamer, they're going to say, let us go with you. So therefore, we see in the merit of tzitzis, a person can have 2,800 servants that are going to assist him from the nations of the world. Now, Simon, we have a mnemonic that's continuing on this theme regarding the punishment of specific sins and what their punishments are, which continues throughout the next Daf too. Simon, the mnemonic, which is some of them we're going to do on this Daf, some are going to continue to the next Daf, are Sanei, which refers to hatred, which is sinas chinam, Chala, not appropriately fulfilling the mitzvah of Chala, Truma, regarding Trumas, Nigzelas, that are stolen, Dina, judgment, Shvua, oath, Shifuchta, spilling of the blood, Giluya, revealing, and V'navlusa, and obscenity. So time to learn the Brisa, going with the first simon, that of Sanei. In the Chenya Aimer, it says, Ba'avain sinas chinam, in the sin of sinas chinam, which is a very well-known phrase of baseless hatred, Rashi defines for us what is sinas chinam. It says, you didn't see by that person any sin that it should be permitted to hate him, and still you're hating him. What does it mean, sinas chinam? There are certain things that is a mitzvah to hate if a person did a sin. Or even if not necessarily a mitzvah, but you could understand why the person would hate him. Chinam, for nothing, is when the person didn't do any sin, and still you find in your heart that you hate him, that's sinas chinam. So because of the sin of baseless hatred, meriva rava b'tech beisa shaladim. So there's quarreling that increases in the person's household, which Rashi says, mida keneged mida. Where you're having quarreling in your house, why are you fighting? Your parents wonder all the time, why are the kids fighting? It doesn't even make sense. Yeah, why do you hate that person? That's mida, keneged mida, that a person is quarreling in his house because somewhere deep inside of you have baseless hatred on someone else. And v'ishtem apelis nafalim, his wife also miscarries, chas shama, stillborn. And related, a person's sons and daughters die when they're young, which Rashi explains, how's that also mida keneged mida? Because, interesting, the way he describes it, says, when the person's child dies, chas Hashem, his love is taken from them. They're not here anymore. And that's mida keneged mida, where the love is taken from another Jew. Why? That is the same thing that it creates a loss of love. Therefore, a person gets punished with these things. Rabbi Huda, he says, Ba'avin chala, he says, in the sin of chala, not appropriately taking off chalas, ein bracha b'makunas. There's no blessing in what's gathered, meaning in the storehouses where a person stores his wine and his oil. There's no blessing in that. And because of that, it comes, uma'ar mishtalachas b'sharm. So then there's a curse that's sent in the gates, meaning in the marketplace, suddenly the prices are starting to rise because there's no blessing in what's already gathered. And they plant seeds, and others eat it, others consume it. Shlomo says the pasuk in Vayikra. Hashem says, even also this I'll do to you. And I'm going to put upon you in a state of panic, the swelling lesions, and the burning fever. Panic, burning fever, these are things that people know. The longing of the eyes, and the suffering of the souls. And in vain you're going to plant your seeds, and your enemies are going to eat it. So we do see from here that in the sin of chala, there's no blessing, and there's the prices go up, and the person is going to plant and others going to eat it. Because as the Gemara expounds, al tikri bahala, don't read it, I'm going to deposit upon you a state of panic. Ela bechala, hey and ches are very much interchangeable. So it's telling you in the sin of chala, vivkadati could mean a sign, I'm going to sign for you panic, but it could also be, like the pasuk says, which means that it will not be diminished from any of you, that no person will be diminished when you go out to fight the war, which is saying that I'm going to diminish what is upon you, which you already have gathered, vivkadati, I'm going to diminish, aleichem bechala, I'm going to take away from you, because you didn't properly fulfill the mitzvah of chala, and then you're going to have all those other punishments, which include regarding, like we said, the prices are going to go up, and other people are going to be eating, like it says there in the pasuk, and others are going to be eating it. Now, but if the people do give the appropriate chala, then misbarchen, then the blessings come, like it says the pasuk in Yecheskel, and it says the first of Yudo you should give to the kain, to place blessing in your house. If you're going to give the appropriate tithes, then you're going to have the blessing that's going to come. The Gemara continues with the next one, which we said the simon, the first one was Sunday, we said sin and the second one is chala. Now we go to truma. Ba'avan bittul trumas u'maisrus, the sin of not appropriately separating the trumas and maisrus. Shemayim netzaron melahirid talamatu. So the heavens stop, and Eretz Yisrael still take of trumas and maisrus, which is a chib in Eretz Yisrael. The heavens stop from bringing down the dew and the rain, and because the rain doesn't come, so so the increase in price becomes the norm. Of it, and all profit is lost. And people run after their livelihood, but they don't attain their livelihood. Like it says the pasuk in Eve. First we'll read it with the simple translation, the literal, and then we'll explain the homiletic interpretation. Tzia gam chaim, in the dry season, so the hot season, Yigzlu mei mishalag will steal the water of the snow. Sha'oil choto, in the depth they have sinned. Says what do you see from here? So Rabbi Shmuel, he says, and because of the things that I commanded on you. So the word tzia, although it means dry, but also can mean from the word of tzivoy. The things that I commanded you, when it says gam chaim, means in the summer months, meaning at the warm time, which is after the winter season. Then you're taking the crop, then you have the obligation of trumas and maisus. But when you didn't do it, that steals from you the water of the snow, the rainwater in the winter months. That's going to cause that the rain's not going to come down. And therefore, if the rain's not going to come down, so then the prices are going to increase, and all profits are going to be lost, and people are not going to have parnasa, and that causes like all depression. Now, but if people do give their trumas and maisers, misbarch, then they get blessed. Like it says the pasuk in Malachi. It says, "Heviu es kol ha'maiser el beis ha'oitzer." Hashem says, "Bring all the tithes to this storehouse. The tariff bevesi, and there's going to be food in my house," says Hashem. And test me with this, says Hashem. Hashem says Hashem, the Lord of hosts. If you're going to give the appropriate maestros, if I'm not going to open for you as arubas hashemayim, the windows of heaven, I'm going to pour out for you blessing without limit until there's not more than enough. Now, says he might adbli die. What's the terminology? Until it's not sufficient. So Amar Rami bar Rav, Amar Rav says it means ad sheyiblu sifseiseichem oloymer die. The word bali could be part of the word yiblu, balu, which is until your lips are worn out from saying die. Ad bali die, where it's balu, die, your lips are worn out from saying enough, shengenig. That's how much blessing is going to come if you fulfill the laws of Trumas and Meisers. And Hashem says, test me, see, can I really do this? And that was the next time. The next one is, we said, Gezela, but oven Gezel, in the sin of robbery, Hagayva Eila, the locust comes, that's one thing. The second thing is Vaharav Haiva, the hunger becomes the norm. And people eat the flesh of their sons and daughters. 3 punishments for the sin of robbery. Like it says a pasuk in Amos, which Gezel again doesn't necessarily mean just going ahead. There's many different ways of fulfilling robbery. Like it says a pasuk in Amos, says Shimu hadavar hazeh. Hear this thing, Paris habashan, the cows of Bashan, which is an area, Shebahar Shemer, which is in the mountains of Samaria, ha'oishkiz dalam, that they oppress the poor, ha'reitzis abyoim, they crush the needy. Which the pasuk concludes there actually, ha'imus ladanim, that they tell their master, haviv v'nishta, bring and let us drink. So what does this mean? Some Rabbi says, we mean like the women of Mechuzah, which are a very wealthy town, as a continuing type of Lama Gimel and Aleph, the Achlan, they would eat, they would consume, they wouldn't work. They're the Paris HaBashan, they're the cows of Bashan, which it comes out that they steal from their husbands. Moreover, they are so accustomed in eating and drinking and all types of pleasures that they cause their husbands to steal, because the husbands have to feed the wives' needs, and they're the pampered women. And so therefore, Shema Davazah Paras HaBashan, they're the ones that are oppressing the poor and crushing the needy, because they're stealing, and the husbands have to steal to maintain their status. Uksev, and it says later on that parsha, in that prophecy of Amos, it says, Hikisi Eschem, I have hit you. B'shidafin, with the wind blast, B'irakin, when it withers away, and mildew. Harbais ganoischem v'karmechem, the multitudes of your gardens and your vineyards, v'seinechem v'zeisechem, and your fig trees and your olive trees. Yochel hagazim, the locust is going to eat it. Now it says a pasuk in Yoel that Yesra gezim, the leftover of the gezim, which is one type of locust, achala arba, the arba, which a different type of locust will eat it up. The Yesra arba acha hayelek, and the leftover the arba, a different type of locust, the yelek will eat it up. The Yesra Yalik, the left of the Yalik, Ochel HaChasel. The Chasel, which a different type of locust, will eat it up. So it sounds like that the Gazam is only the beginning of the Makkah. Afterwards come the Arba, then come the Chasel. And therefore, it says a pasuk in Yeshaya, the Yigzer al Yamin, that Yigzer can mean decree, but also can mean he snatches, like Goyze Yamsav Exam, like cuts. He snatches on the right, V'rav, he's still hungry. The Yachal al Small eats on his left side, V'loisveh, he's not satiated. Ish besar zeroyu yechelu. A man, the flesh of his arm, he's going to eat it. So it says the Gemara, al tikri basar zeroy. Don't read it the flesh of his arm, el besar zaroy. Rather the flesh of his children. So Rashi explains, where do you see this teaching? Again, the teaching was because of the sin of theft that causes locusts to come, hunger becomes the norm, and people eat the flesh of their children, because we see when it says the Paris Habashan, that they're oishkis dalam. So that's the sin of stealing from the poor. That causes, as the pasuk says, goivai, the locust to come, because it says later on there in that same nevuah of Amos that yoichel hagazim, the locusts are going to eat it up. Now, so since the locust is coming, we see a pasuk in Yoel that says all types of locusts come. So since you have all these types of locusts, obviously you're going to have a hunger, a famine, because they're going to eat up all the food. Now, once there's a famine, so that's what the pasuk says in Yeshaya, when there's a famine, the Yigzal Yamin, when you're eating on the right side, you're still hungry, and the left side, you're still hungry. And what does it say at the end of the pasuk when there's a famine? Ish besar zero yechelu, which is said, don't read it your arm, rather they'll eat the flesh of their children. So that's how you see the 3 punishments of stealing, which causes in this conglomeration of these different psukim to show that there's going to be the locust, which causes the famine, which then causes people to be so desperate to chas Hashem eat the flesh of their children. Some of these we spoke about in today's daf, in Shabbos Daf Lamed Beis, was this mission that we began with, relating to the halachas of this parak of Bamem Adlikin regarding the halachas in there. We said for 3 sins, women die, according to one interpretation, that of our Mishnah, b'shas lidasin, when they're giving birth. One is regarding the laws of nida, one is regarding the laws of challah, and one is regarding the laws of lighting the candles. Why is that? Because these three things are the essential parts of a person. And therefore Hashem gave three related mitzvahs. The laws of nida is because you need a revius of dam to survive. So therefore Hashem gave a mitzvah of dam nida. There's also, Hashem says, I called you the Rashis. The Jewish people are the Rashis, so therefore gave you the mitzvah of Rashis, which is the first to be do, is challah. And also Hashem says, I gave you a soul, which is called a ner. So therefore Hashem says, I gave you also the mitzvah of lakas ner. Now, why was it given specifically to a woman? So Rashi gives two interpretations, either because she caused the chet of the Eitzadas, which was the extinguishing of all these things, the death of Adam and the taking away the status of the Rashis and the extinguishing the Shamash, so therefore she has responsibility, or because very practically she does these things, and therefore she has that responsibility. Now, why does it happen during childbirth specifically? So the Gemara gave many different mishalim, because then her mazel is down, and then she's ready for punishment, and therefore that's when the person has to have merits, and that's when she gets judged and punished for these three sins. Now we said, what's with a man? When does he get judged? So he gets judged, like when he's going on the bridge, which there's dangerous situations, that's when he also gets judged for his sins, and therefore we brought many different customs of Amiram regarding what they were careful, meticulous, even checking the boat before getting on, or who's on the boat, because of dangerous situations. Additionally, we found the teaching of Rabbi Yana that a person shouldn't say that, okay, I'm fine, I'll go do something dangerous, they'll do a miracle for me. No, who said a miracle is going to be done? And even the miracle is done, but Menachem Mischei Yosef, then they're going to take away from his merits. We brought a pasuk that says Ki yipol hanoifel mimenu, which we had two interpretations of that pasuk. One related to the previous Gemara's discussion regarding mimenu, that mimenu lehevi raya lezakis. When he's falling, the onus of proof is on him. You're already in a dangerous situation. It's not so simple to survive if you're already in the vulnerable situation. Beforehand is when the person could be more easily protected. Additionally, why are they calling him the Neifel? What does it mean, the Neifel? He didn't fall yet when the Torah was given. No, from Sheish Mei Bereisha was decreed that he was going to die. But Megagel and Chayva Al Yidei Chayiv, the person who did not put up the appropriate Micah, he's going to get punished, although the person was going to die anyway, but it happened through you. We said different stages. The person even just going out to the street should be like the officer already is taking hold of him. If he has even just a slight headache, as if he's in chains. And if he has to lay down the bed already, it's like as if Lagardim Lidan, you got to get a good lawyer then. But we said in the heavenly court, in Shemayim, even if you have just 1 out of 1,000 defending, then they'll absolve the person. Now, some said it's not that they die when they're yoldos, when they're giving birth, but it's when they are yolodos, when they are young, the women die. And that's the two different interpretations. Either it's called dovki or budki. Budki is inspectors. It's going to check you at a time of vulnerability. That's during childbirth. Divke is bonds, meaning it grabs a hold of the person, makes them die even when they're young. And then we had many different discussion going through Amud Beis, different sins and their punishments, which one of the primary was discussed regarding the death of children when they're young. We had a few different interpretations, either the sin of Nedarma vows, or of Betel Torah, of not learning Torah when one could. Third one is not properly fulfilling the mitzvah of mezuzah. And the fourth one was not fulfilling the mitzvah of tzitzis. And we had different interpretations. Mezuzah is expounded the pasuk Lefaneha. This was Lefnei Lefneha. The Betel Torah was Lefnei Lefneha. We brought different sources for different things where we know that from. And then we ended off with a simon that went through again different sins and the punishments. One is we spoke about sinas chinam, which mida keneged mida. Person also has quarreling in his house and his children die young, chas v'shalom, not properly fulfilling challah, truma, and we spoke about gezela. Thank you to Anytime for hosting us.